Here's Brody Brazil.
You know, as somebody who is all for teams just staying in their local markets and not relocating or moving away, I suppose it's good news that the Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City Royals are most likely to stay in Kansas City. But the question is, Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas? There's been a lot of back and forth between these two teams, which kind of are tied at the hip in a multitude of different ways. They both play at the Truman Sports Complex, which hosts both Arrowhead Stadium and Kauffman Stadium. And they've also been receiving the exact same public subsidy for decades, a percentage of a tax, which was recently voted down to continue. So now they're in the same situation of aging stadiums and trying to figure out what's next. Will they both stay in Missouri? Will they both get lured in by Kansas City? Will they separate? Will they go different directions? Will one be in one state, one stay in the other? It remains to be seen, but I do want to address this from the very beginning. Some recent developments on these two fronts. Here's the very latest from Royals owner John Sherman. On opening day, he was asked about recent rumors that the team really was moving forward with going to Kansas because of better public money, better tax breaks, a better situation out there. He said, quote, "Whatever the source of that speculation, it didn't come from us. When we have something to talk about, we're going to be ready to talk about that." And when asked further about the timeline of a new stadium and an announcement, he said, kind of in that June-July period. So we haven't heard much from the Royals, again, since last summer, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. But now they're kind of pointing at and aiming towards this summer as having some idea for us what their next plans are. On the Chiefs side, their owner, Clark Hunt, he's been at the NFL owners meetings the last several days in Florida. Here's what he said. He was, quote, hopeful to have a stadium plan ready to announce by summer at the latest. So it's interesting that all of a sudden, again, the Chiefs and Royals are on very similar timelines to announce something. I wonder why that is. No, actually, I know why that is, and I'll explain it momentarily. Hang with me. But first, I need to go back to this April 2nd, 2024 vote. Basically, exactly 1 year ago, the public voted this down. It was a sales tax that would have extended the 3/8 cent sales tax in Jackson County for another 40 years. This is the same one that the Royals and Chiefs had benefited from for maintaining and upgrading their respective stadiums. But this benefit, this public benefit, is now going away. It was a tax since 2006. It was evenly split between the Chiefs and Royals, this 3/8 cent sales tax in Jackson County. And so the Royals, now seeking to leave the Truman Sports Complex, that was kind of their ambition, to either go downtown or maybe go to Kansas. But the Chiefs have always said, hey, we just want to stay here and upgrade Arrowhead. That's what they were trying to do with the respective funding. If this vote passed and if the next 40 years of tax money was secured. Question one on the ballot a year ago was sales tax for stadiums in Jackson County. It was voted down no, 58% to 42%. So all of a sudden, the money that these two teams had been getting, the money that they had hoped for in the future, the money that they were going to put towards either fixing up Arrowhead or the Royals building something new somewhere else, it's not coming in anymore. Well, enter the state of Kansas. This is like what, 2+ months later? The Kansas legislature has approved a star bonds package that could bring the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals, to Kansas. The plan calls for the state to pay off bonds over a 30-year period, revenues from sports betting, Kansas lottery ticket sales, and new sales and alcohol taxes from businesses in the district where the stadiums would be included. House Commerce Committee Chair Sean Tarwater, a Kansas City area Republican, said the Chiefs are likely to spend between $500 million and $700 million in private funds on a new stadium if they were to build one on the Kansas side of the border. There are no blank checks, quote, Tarwater told GOP colleagues during a briefing on the plan before the House began debating it. Okay, those star bonds, they obviously passed. STAR, by the way, stands for Sales Tax and Revenue Bonds. They passed, but they expire June 30th, 2025. So when the Royals and the Chiefs both say, well, we've got to figure this out probably by summer. Well, look at that date right there. So they know this is an option to go to Kansas. This is on the table. This is kind of understood. The specifics of these deals, I don't know, are publicly understood, but the Royals and the Chiefs are looking at this saying, okay, we understand there is a path to go to Kansas. We have to do so by that deadline. Enter in Missouri Part 2. Now, this is not Jackson County. This is Clay County, which I'll show you in just a second. But in Missouri, there's a state Senate bill 710, which was just introduced a day or two ago. It would give Clay County, not Jackson County, but Clay County, the authority to establish a sports complex authority. Stadium board, basically the ability to start structuring things to funnel money to these teams to help them build a new stadium or a new training complex. It would allow and follow a similar model as the Truman Sports Complex in Jackson County. They're basically trying to recreate what Jackson County had done for all those years, do it in Clay County, and try and keep these two teams in the state of Missouri. It would most likely include a Royals stadium and a Chiefs training facility. It's not understood what the Chiefs would do for a new stadium, if they would move their stadium to Clay County, or if they really still want to stay at Arrowhead and fix that up. I know there's a passion for the Chiefs towards their stadium. I know they really want to keep it. It's not the newest. They like the location. They like where it's at. They like what it is. They like the advantage it's always given them. It really seems like they want to fix up Arrowhead more than they want to move out, versus the Royals, who want to move out somewhere else. But the bigger picture here, Missouri is now jumping back in the conversation. And so that's why these two teams are saying, wait a second, we're going to do this midsummer, because we know the Kansas deal expires. We want to see what Missouri will drum up before any of that is possible. You can kind of see it here. I should have outlined it better. That is Clay County, Missouri, kind of the northeastern quadrant of Kansas City. And yes, Kansas City on the left is in Kansas. Kansas City on the right is in the state of Missouri. The state line is also kind of hard to see there, follows the river. Anyway, long story short, you've got states kind of going back and forth and maybe even battling to a certain degree over these two teams. And it is interesting, as I begin the takeaways here, to have dual teams facing near identical situations. They both play in the same spot right now. They were both getting the same tax revenue and money. All of a sudden, they're not. They're both trying to figure out what's next. Will they move in unison? Will they move separately from each other? Are they coordinating with each other behind the scenes? Only they know. But they're obviously both attempting leverage. I wonder if one tries to gain a little bit more leverage than the other. If one says, hey, we like the Kansas deal. The other one says, actually, Missouri's got a bigger and better deal. Do they separate? How does this work? Are they really tied together that much? Right now, though, if you think about it, and maybe this is another reason why they've been patient over the last 9 to 12 months, both of them, because you think about inflation and interest rates going up. Both teams would still probably have to borrow money for projects, and tariffs on construction materials. Is any of this right now the best time to be doing a new stadium or a new project? Maybe that's why they've been so patient in all of this to start. You haven't really heard much from the Chiefs or Royals after the vote was shot down by the public. You haven't heard much from these two teams about what their next move is going to be. And so both teams right now planting seeds of what Missouri is going to do next. What is this bill going to be? What kind of offer is it going to be for these two teams? Then maybe they'll have a month or two to decide. It kind of seems like playing this out and going slow with it is going to provide the best options for them. But yeah, it does seem like the states are battling a little bit. Like I said, it's such a unique situation because neither team is talking about moving across the country. They're not talking about anything wild. It literally is what side of the state border might and will they stay. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. Also, thumbs up down there greatly helps me, this channel, and this video. And one more thing on that note, don't forget to go hit that subscribe button like right now. That way, I can definitely see you back here next time.